We're live. Today I have the honor of interviewing legendary MC and producer Blue. He just released a new album. We're going to talk to him about the new project, his recent show, what else he's got going on in 2024, and more. Let's bring him in.
There I go. Boom. Yeah,
Peace, legend. How
yeah.
you doing, my man?
Good, good, good. How you doing?
I'm good, my brother. Thank you so much. What a wild weekend you just had. New album
Oh,
release, show.
yeah.
You're doing it big. 2024 has been such an amazing year for you already. Let's jump
Yes,
right
sir.
into the new album. Wow.
Oh, good,
Tough,
good looks.
tough album. Amazing. You and Shafiq Husayn have an amazing chemistry. You had the 2018, the blueprint. He brings
Uh-huh.
out a different side of you, right? Let's talk
Yeah,
about this
yeah.
new album and what it means to you and what it's about.
Oh man, out of the blue, it's just a straight funk album. You know what I mean? We just getting funky out here in LA. You know, me and Shafiq linked up in 2018 on the Blueprint. It was a little more serious. It was a mixtape, but it was a little more serious content. This time we actually got in the studio with each other. You know what I mean? We're making beats on the spot, writing on the spot. It was just a great vibe, man. And we ended up doing this really funky album. You know what I mean? For the West
Yeah,
Coast. I thought it was a great follow up.
yeah, yeah. No, the album's incredible. It's how do you describe it? I mean, it's got such a LA sound, and it's talking about LA things,
Oh yeah,
right? Right?
yeah.
And
Definitely.
you know, you have such a long and storied career with all of the work you've done as a producer, everything that you're known for with Exile. You have, all these eras, but this album, Out of the Blue, is kind of reaching into that Inglewood, right? It's kind of reaching
Oh
into, the
yeah.
neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
reaching into what's going on around the city, in the streets, in that unique blue narrative form. Is
Uh-huh.
it Shafiq uniquely, your chemistry with him, your background with him? What is it about the combination between you and Shafiq that you see in the blueprint and then you see now again in Out of the Blue?
I think that's just me, really. Shafiq is the master teacher, we like to call him. You know what I mean? Shafiq is a production genius. You know, he has so many different styles. From like he could go from Afro beat to like, you know what I mean, real jazz music. You know what I'm saying? R&B, soul. You know, and hip hop. So when we linked up, he was really just letting me do me. You know. And I like the funky sounds. I like the synthesizers, you know what I mean, the heavy drums and the claps. So he blessed me with that sound, and I just got straight West Coast with it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really good. There's two music videos for it:
Mhm.
Roll Up, right, and We Bang. Talk to us
Yes.
about the. Talk to us about. Let's talk about We Bang,
Oh,
right? Because that was the
oh,
first
yeah.
kind of like the lead single. Talk to us about that song and the music video.
Shout out to everybody on the song. Shout out to Yara. Shout out to MED. Shout out to Thurs. You know what I mean? We Bang was a straight just banger. You know what I mean? It was when we did the album. When I initially recorded and wrote the album, We Bang was like it wasn't the standout song. You know what I mean? But when we played it for people, they just got real funky with it, and I was like, that's kind of like what the album, you know what I mean, is saying, you know what I mean, that is just like a funky vibe. So I thought it was the best like first joint to put out for the album to give everybody a general idea of what the record is gonna feel like, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's always an interesting thing, right? When you listen to the music you've created around other people, and that's
Oh
like
yeah,
a whole other experience of like how they're vibing off of it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta play it for the homies, you know what I mean? You gotta get the homie test off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the homie test. I like that. But and then the video you just dropped recently, Roll Up. Talk to us about that
Oh,
track.
Roll Up. Roll Up was a favorite. You know, that's Shafiq's favorite song on the album. You know what I mean? For me, when we made it, I felt like I joined the Sa Ra family right then. I was like, oh yeah, I made it. You know what I mean? Like it's that joint that just reminds you of his catalog, you know what I mean, of the sound of Sa Ra of Shafiq Husayn. And it just has such a great vibe and everybody just had a great response to it. We was like, this gotta be a single,
Yeah.
you know. So we definitely made that the second single.
That video looked like a lot of fun to shoot.
Oh yeah, that was definitely fun. We was just chilling at the homie's crib. That's just another day in the life at the homies, you know what I mean? That's just a normal day, you know?
Yeah. You've been mad busy in 2024. This album just dropped. You just had a show at the
Uh-huh.
Boombox, right? And
Uh-huh.
part, rolling out the album rollout. Talk to us about that show on
Um,
Saturday.
Man, shout out to everybody who came out and showed love. That was a great show. We had so much fun, man. Big Inkswell came out from Australia. Likewise, from Pac Div was spinning. He got the crowd amped. Exile came out and killed it. And Shafiq just topped the night off. You know what I mean? I was able to get some raps off. You know what I mean? It was a dope vibe. We had a packed room in there, and everybody was just, you know what I mean, enjoying themselves.
Yeah. Now, 2024, like we're like in the second quarter. This is the second project. You had another project that you released, like new project with Roy Royale,
Hmm.
right? Roy Royal, right? Talk to us about that joint, and I mean this prolific year that you've been having so far. The Roy Royal
Oh.
Blue project, which is super dope. Also, the legendary. Talk to us about it.
Oh man, the legendary, the Royal, you know what I mean? The same OG, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Me and Royal just hooked up. We hooked up for a couple songs and then we were like, yo man, what are we doing with these songs? They came out so fire and we both didn't have any direction for them. We was like, yo, let's just do a little project for the people, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's exactly what it ended up being, you know, real hip hop for me, you know what I mean? Just it felt good to do just a straight hip hop album with rhymes, beats, and cuts, you know what I mean? Every song had like a DJ on it. Roy Royal did all the beats, I did all the raps. Shout out to Cassius King who was on the Priceless. And it was just like a really wholesome vibe, you know what I mean? Royal got that sound, you know what I mean? He's a new kid coming out, but he got heat, man. So make sure y'all tap in with Royal.
yeah. He's got those that boom bap.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Original rap.
yeah. So what's that like for you? Because when you listen to the Blue discography, there's eras and so much variety in the sound, and it feels like lyrically it brings out different aspects of your penmanship, of your pen game, of your styles.
Hmm.
What is that like for you? Do you are you just when you listen to music, do you listen to a wide variety of music? What is it like when you select beats? What's that like for you? Because you have so many different
Yes.
blue sounds.
I try to change it up every album.
Mm.
You know, I didn't know I was gonna be doing this many albums, so it's a lot of different styles I'm hitting the people
Yeah,
with. You know,
yeah,
but I definitely am into a lot of different types of music. You know what I mean? I try to incorporate that or tap into that influence and inspiration and put it into my music. You know,
yeah,
and you know, most I like to work with one producer a lot of
yeah.
times. So like, you know, everyone pretty much has a different sound or unique, you know what I mean? So when you link up with somebody, you're already starting something unique, you know, and I like to try to keep it as unique as possible. And each album I go on, I don't want to ever repeat myself, you know what I mean? I want
Yeah,
people to feel like they're getting something fresh every time, you
yeah,
know, and they have something to be excited about, you know, when I release a record.
yeah, yeah. No, that's really cool, and you can see in your discography the variety of gems, right? And all
Oh,
these
word.
different flavors of blue, all these different hues of blue.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
very
You know.
nice, very nice.
Now you started out as a battle rapper, as a freestyle artist. LA is
Yeah.
renowned around the world for all of the freestylers and how dope people are freestyling.
Oh
Then
yeah.
you wound up kind of getting into more of like the songwriting and all of that.
Hmm.
What's it like? You're so prolific. What's it like in the studio with Blue? Do you take the beats home, spend days working on it? Are you one of those cats that writes in their head, goes in and knocks it out like a Biggie or a Jay-Z? What's the Blue creative process like? Because the discography is wild, right? So
Yeah.
is it hours with the pen and the notebook, or is it
Oh
really kind
yeah.
of like, you know what I'm saying? Like you put it together,
I got a
you come in and
locker,
drop it.
man. I have so many notebooks, just piles of notebooks, you know what I mean? Piles of untapped raps, you know. But in the studios, I like to take the beats home. You know, when I'm in the studio, I like to just smoke out, listen to all the beats, you know what I mean, just vibe to the music.
Yeah,
My favorite part is writing, you know what I mean? So like I like sitting with a beat for hours and just letting my imagination run, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And then putting those thoughts to the paper, you know, that's my favorite process. So I like to be in a more, you know, a peaceful environment or somewhere that I feel like at home, you know what I mean? Most of the time I'm at home,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But I do get down on the spot though. You know, I do Farside. I ended up working with Farside recently and I was like, yeah, man, let me take this beat home. They was like, nah, we never do that. We always do every song is on the spot. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I was like,
So you had to
oh
adapt. You had
yeah,
to
I had
adapt to how they
to
do it.
adapt, you know. But it was so much fun, you know. It's always a challenge to write on the spot, to be in the moment, you know what I mean, and try to give it your best right there, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Do you still freestyle at all? Or do you like now focus mostly on the, because you know there's like a whole freestyle era where it
Yeah,
was like
it
basically, you know how like now they've got like the rap battles, but none of that's off the top of the head. It's all you
Exactly,
prepare for a
exactly.
month, right? Like you
Yeah,
prepare, you they Google all the research on
yep,
the person, and it's
yep.
dope. It's its own
Oh yeah,
thing. It's right. It's like the UFC, NFL of battle rap, but
yep.
it's not like the '90s and
Nah, it's
early
not like it
2000s
used to
where it was
be.
straight off the dome,
Yeah,
right? Which
exactly.
is what you
That's
came
the
up in.
class I came from.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I came from off the top, you know, freestyling. That was my favorite, you know, back in the day. That's all I used to do. I never would write, you know what I mean? And then one of my big homies, my first manager, he was like, man, freestyle is free, man. You know what I mean? If you want to make some money out here, you got to put that pen down, you know? And he started introducing, I was just into straight battle rappers, you know what I mean? Cannabis, Chino XL, you know what I mean? He was like Juice, Super Nat. And
yeah,
he's like, nah, man, you ever heard of Outkast, Rakim, you know what I mean? Common, he started putting me up on the real hip hop. And that changed my entire like walk into this game, my entire focus and everything. And from then on, it's been me in the pen, you know. So it's been years like, man, it's been a good like 22 years. I haven't freestyle battled, you know what I mean? I just freestyled at the show, you know, clowning myself. It was so funny, but everybody was laughing at me. The freestyle was so bad,
no,
but
it's
they kind of
a
forced me to
muscle. It's a
freestyle.
muscle, right? Like
Oh
if you're
yeah,
not working that freestyle muscle, it atrophies.
yeah. Yeah, you gotta stay on it, man. You gotta wake up and just rhymes come to your head. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be in the shower and like, oh, this is a bananas rap. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's that whole vibe when you just freestyling it out everywhere you go. You know,
yeah.
the cipher era.
The cipher era. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's back like on the radio. The radio host would jump on, and the BET. You know what I'm saying? Like all
yeah,
of that,
yeah.
106 & Park. That whole era.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely.
So at the beginning of this year, you did something really special, I think, for the fans, for the true diehard Blue fans. You came out with, man, like 10 or 12 Blue projects that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
some of them were like legendary that like people had heard of. Some people
Yeah,
had them, and I mean, there are all these projects because you're so prolific that were not officially released as part of the Blue discography up until this year when you
right.
release things like California Soul,
Oh
and
yeah.
people have been waiting for all of these projects that came out. Talk to us about the impetus behind doing that, and you know why you did that, and you know we're all happy, but tell us how that happened.
Oh man, I'm sitting on, or I was at the time, I was sitting on a good like 300 plus unreleased songs, you know, and my hard drive, and you know, I got into a situation 2015, and my studio was robbed, so I lost all my masters to all my albums up until that point. You know what I mean? A lot of stuff, and all I had, what when I reflected last year, I reflected on what I had left. I was sitting on still about 300, you know, songs that I never released, you know. So I was like, yo, I got to get these out to the people, you know what I mean? Different. So I just made compilations and of different projects like B-sides that didn't make an album, or remixes, you know what I mean, a remix album of an album or instrumental version of an album. And we ended up dropping 13 projects the first week of January this year, you know, just for my fans, the people who are always asking about good God is good. People are always asking about California Soul. We was like, man, let's get these out to the people, you know.
Yeah,
It
that was dope,
felt
man.
good to do that, man.
Yeah, it was. Well, one, it's out there forever now, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's out of the off of the hard drive and all that, and it's out there forever now. And the fans, you know, they're you. I mean, you blessed everybody
Oh
with
man, good looks.
you know you blessed everybody. I think California Soul, it being kind of like your first project, and this,
Right.
you know, is the one that a lot of people know about. But there was another one you just mentioned, which is God is Good. Now that one had come out in some capacity as a straight MP3 at one point. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you
It's actually
tell
the
us the
same
story about that
audio.
one?
Yeah, that was I was working on that project, God is Good, and my hard drive crashed. And I always had the hard drive. I was saving it to at some point get repaired and finish that album up. But in between the process of me working on that album, I got signed to a major. I got signed to Warner Brothers. And that wasn't exactly what I wanted to give Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? I had, you know, visions in my mind for if I did a major, who I would like to work with, and, you know, stuff like that. And I didn't consider myself a real producer at the time. I was just making beats for myself, you know. So in January of 2010, I put out that MP3 of just to give the people a taste of what I had been sitting on. Kind of the same thing I did this year, you know what I mean? And it was just something I was sitting on, and coincidentally, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't even have those songs, you know, because I ended up getting my studio ended up getting robbed.
Yeah.
So you know, with that, it was like my hard drive crashed, and I was hoping to get it fixed, and then it got stolen, so it was a wrap, you know. And then I was like, oh wait, there was that version I put out online, you know. So I just went out, found some people with the cleanest version of that, mastered it, separated the tracks, you know, and just put it out for the people, just raw, you know what I mean, on a DSPs. Like, yo, if you remember this, this is for you, you know what I mean?
That's dope, man. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
dope. The
Good luck.
I'm sorry that the studio got robbed. It was a minute ago, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Um, you know, stuff happens. Something good came out of that though. You dropped an album later
Hmm.
that talked about that. It's called the Red Hot Los
So yeah,
Angeles Night,
yeah,
right?
yep,
Reminiscent to
yep.
me of there's another iconic iconic with the pen like yourself rapper by the name of Common, who dropped an
Uh-huh.
album because his crib got robbed,
Oh
right?
yeah, I remember
You
that
remember that?
stolen moment. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
And you know, so that album, you were really vulnerable in that album and describing everything that happened to you. Can you
yeah.
talk to us about that process of, you know, having something as a musician, your livelihood, as a creative, your intellectual property.
Mhm.
Um, you know, you can hear it all the time when people don't have their masters and they go redo a song that was, you know, a famous song like these old
Yeah,
rock bands. It don't ever come out like, you know, the iconic song, right?
yeah,
So like that
yeah,
moment that's captured in the studio, you know what I'm talking about when they
yeah.
redo it. Those were moments that in a lot of ways were gone.
Mhm.
You went through that,
Mhm.
but you created something beautiful out of it. Talk to us about the making of that album after after the robbery.
I appreciate that, man. Me and Ono have been trying to work together for years, man, and you know, I have been sitting on the beats for a while, like a good year, you know, or almost 2 years in between that happening and stuff going down. I was just sitting on the beats, and I wasn't in the right space for a while. I couldn't write for a long time, you know, because of that. And I finally just decided to pick myself up and hop on these beats and tell my story over Ono's beats. I would listen to them, and it was kind of had this dark, like looming vibe, and I was like, that kind of felt like what I was going
Yeah.
through, you know what I mean? So I just translated the story into raps, you know what I mean? and we got it out. I remember trying to work with Ono for the Below the Heavens album. He was one of the first producers I reached out to for that album before we decided to just go solely with Exile, you know.
Yeah,
So me and Ono got tons of stuff back in the day, and we're always talking about doing an album. So it was good to finally be able to do
that's
that.
dope, man. That's dope. But he pulled those beats. Well,
Oh
first
yeah,
of all, how dope was it to work with him finally? And then for that
right?
production, it what pulled out the story and the pain that we
Yeah,
have today,
yeah.
right?
It's those strings, man. He was ripping those strings on that album, you
Yeah,
know. Oh no changes it up all the time too. Like you think if you go holler at him trying to get some red hot summer beats, man, he gonna have a whole different vibe for you next time you reach out to him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Oh no keeps it moving. He's about to drop that Gang Green too. Make sure
Ooh.
y'all check that
Now,
out.
Odo is related to Madlib.
Yep, little brother. That's his little brother.
Now, who did you meet first, Ono or Madlib?
I met Ono first. I met him at the Ono Exile battle. They actually battled. They had a beat battle back in the day, like in '04 or something, '05
Are
or '04.
you
Classic
serious?
battle. Oh
That's
yeah, it's
dope.
on a DVD. You could find the DVD. It's called Sound Clash.
Okay,
Yep,
that's
it's an
dope.
epic DVD. They have Madlib versus Cut Chemist on there, and they have Will I Am versus Thes One, and Exile versus Oh No.
Wow.
Classic DVD.
You basically work with almost a whole DVD.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got a classic album with Madlib.
Uh,
One of your, if we have to take your 30, 40 plus projects that you've got out
yeah.
there and narrow it down to like the 3, 4, 5 best known,
Uh-huh.
right? We're not gonna say best because you have so many flavors that it's like going to the ice cream shop. It's like, what do you want that day?
Oh
But if you talk about the
yeah.
best known projects, your work
Hmm.
with Madlib is one of your better known albums, right?
Oh yeah.
Talk to us about the making of the album with Madlib.
Oh man. MED, MED and Madlib did the album Bad Neighbor in 2015. I met MED in '05. He was the first person to take me to Europe. He took me and Exile to Europe. My first time out there, you know what I mean? It was wonderful. We vibed. We were always talking about doing music together. And around 2011, I did a couple demos and I sent it to him to send to Madlib, and he was like, "Yo, let me hop on this." And I was like, "Oh, for sure." And he hopped on. A Burgundy Whip was the first song we did.
It's so dope.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then from then on, we just got it in. We did about 40 joints for that album.
Wow.
Pick like 15. You know what I mean. Madlib has endless beats. I got like 500 beats from Madlib. You know what I mean.
Wow.
You know, which is crazy. That's unheard of right there.
Yeah.
Like, you get a beat batch of like 20, maybe 6 beats. You get a beat CD with like 15 on them. Man, I got the freaking USB with 500 beats, bro.
Yeah.
It
Right. That's it. That's all you're doing is listening to Madlib beats forever.
Man, for a whole year, yeah, forever, man. It took me a whole year to get through all those beats, man. Just listening to them without even writing a song.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun process. Bad Neighbors, it was such a fun record. You could listen to it and tell we had so much fun making that record.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody on that record. It was like the whole Stones Throw family just embraced us and laced us up, you know what I mean? And it was dope. It was a dope vibe, man.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing record. You have a record that I think is slept on a little bit. It's a EP with Damu the Fudgemunk, right? I'm originally from
Yeah.
DC. I'm a transplant here in LA. I'm originally from
Oh,
DC, so
okay.
I know Damu well. Used to see
Oh,
Damu
that's
on the train all the
what's up.
time. Yeah,
Oh,
and
word.
yeah, talk to us
Shout out
about
to
that
Damu,
record with
man.
Damu.
Yep. Say it again.
How did that record come together with Damu?
Oh man, that was a deep one. I had been working with Redef Media for a while. That was like Damu's pretty much his
Yeah,
label. And I had done like a good 8 songs for that label. And it was like, man, you and Damu got to do something. And I was like, definitely, we definitely do, you know.
Yeah.
It was overdue. It was long overdue, you know. So we got it in. We got the tape done, you know what I mean? He actually blazed songs that I had recorded. That whole album is actually a remix album, you know what
Wow.
I mean? Yeah, nothing was like original rhymes to beats. It was really just songs that I had that he flipped and made
Wow.
them his own, made them our own, you know what I mean?
What
Yeah,
was it like?
Damo is crazy
What
talented.
did he get? Where did he get the acapellas?
Oh, for me, I had recorded some songs, you know what I mean? I was sitting on them and didn't know what I was gonna do with them, but I liked the songs, you know, so I sent them to him and he just flipped all the songs, you know. I didn't have to re-record nothing, you know, got all the vocals there and he just blazed it, you know, ground and water.
That's so. Were those songs before the Damu project? Were they ever released on something else,
No,
or you just have them?
no, just unreleased songs, you know. Like I was saying earlier, I had like 300. I'm still sitting on a good like probably 200 unreleased songs, you know.
That's that's amazing. The creative process for you. Do you, because different MCs do it in different ways. Do you do it like in a home studio, right? You talked about earlier how your studio got robbed. Um,
Right.
now we're in the home studio era. What's that process like for you? Do you like, pen it right there, record it right there? Do you get it mixed somewhere else? Like what's that part of the Blue creative process like?
Now, now I write the rhymes at home. I'll hook up with a producer, either pick beats on the spot or they'll send me
Mhm.
beats and I write at home. And then I have my homie Mike West, shout out to Mike West in LA. I go out to Mike West Studios or Big C6 Studios and I lay down the raps. You know, it's pretty simple. Back in the day, I did about 3 or 4 projects out of my home studio, like Her Favorite
Yeah.
Color, Jesus, Good to Be Home. Those were all like recorded out of my home studio. Then
Yeah.
I had for a while I had, different I would rent out studios and put my equipment in it and, set up my studio out of like a whole, studio block, you know what I mean, where it'd be
Yeah.
like 8 rooms in there going crazy, you know what I mean? People just come by, we vibe out, you know. So the vibes vary, you know. It depends on like the year, really, you know.
Yeah.
It changes. I don't know how long I'm gonna be writing right here, you know what I mean, at the spot, at the crib,
Yeah.
you know. Sometimes I'm like out and about. I used to write a lot driving, you know what I mean, and keep the rhyme in my head. And as soon as I park or I have to park or something and write some stuff down, you know what I mean? But I remember when driving would bring out a lot of rhymes out of me, you know what I mean? So it changes up.
Yeah. That's back when people still had like CD players in their cars. You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? They
yeah,
probably
hell yeah, it was.
cruise around
Definitely.
listening cruise around listening to beats. You mentioned an interesting project, Jesus, right? And then we opened the whole interview up talking about the brand new album that's available everywhere right now, Out of the Blue, which is on some more um, California street
G-Funk.
culture. Yeah,
G-Funk.
G Funk. And these two um what would you call extremes, right?
Mhm.
Consciousness, positivity, awareness, spirituality, the higher self, and street life, things you see every single day roaming around Los Angeles and any other inner city, not only in the US, you tour Europe all the time.
Yep.
You've probably seen, the
Oh
neighborhoods in
yeah.
Paris, the banlieue, right? You
Yep.
go to
It goes
London,
down out there too,
bro, you
man.
could get robbed anywhere,
Yeah.
right? Right.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
true.
these two extremes, they work their way into your music. I read that growing up, dad was a G and stepdad was a man of God. Can you talk to us about that upbringing and how that's worked its way into your life?
It's funny that is it's like the total reflection of my career, you know what I mean? My spiritual side and my street side, it's like my dad and my stepdad who raised me, and it's funny that it just happened that way. I feel like my street side is me more so describing my environment, and my spiritual side is me more so describing who I am in this environment. You know what I mean? And sometimes they come together like Jesus. I felt like it was coming together. Sometimes it's like straight street, like Good to Be Home or Bad Neighbor, you know what I mean? And then it gets straight conscious like Miles or Below the Heavens,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I have a hip hop side. Sometimes I'm just doing straight hip hop, you know what I mean? Straight
Sometimes
just
you gotta
bust.
show skill.
Yeah, yeah, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that that's something that's really dope about you, right? Like you don't allow a sound or a topic to somehow be like, this is what blue is. You're
Right, right,
blue.
right.
You're blue,
Yes,
and you're the
yes.
creator of all of this.
Yes, the whole soundscape. Yeah, I want it to be wide range too, man. I don't want to be in a box.
Yeah.
Like I say, I try to change it up every album. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm just gonna be a wide spectrum, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's so real, man. Like, we're all human. We all have, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love my wife, but I hate her sometimes too. You know what I'm saying? That whole thing, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
me
yeah.
and us, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
the
It's
truth.
the human experience.
That's the human experience. That's beautiful. The the thing that's really dope about your art is that you're also well known for the visuals that come with the music. You have
Uh,
a lot of videos and a variety of videos, right? And you really
Right.
care about that. I read that when you were in a deal with Warner,
Mhm.
there was a movie aspect to the way that that deal had worked out, and that's something that
Right.
you're really interested in. You love movies. You're in the city of movies, the city of entertainment,
True
Los Angeles.
indeed. True
Talk to us
indeed.
about your interest in cinema, how that works its way into your visuals for your own music, and what your future ambitions in that area are.
Hmm. Man, I would still like to do film. I'm still planning on doing film. You know, I've always been working on scripts, you know, always still am to this day, like piecing things together. I have finished scripts, I have unfinished scripts. Um, Waiting for the perfect opportunity to step into that whole field. But yeah, when I signed to Warner Brothers, I was film was a huge inspiration for me and still is, you know. More so now I'm recycling a lot of films because I feel like my whole vibe was captured, like the the 60s noir era, 60s, 70s noir era, and like the early 2000s like independent era is like my favorite types of
Yeah,
films, you know what I mean? And so I'm inspired by, like, you know, the films a lot, and I will hopefully get into it soon, you know what I
yeah.
mean, and drop some films for the people, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's dope. It's interesting because we're kind of in a golden era, whether it's good or not. It's prolific. There's a lot of
Oh yeah, it's so
shows and
prolific.
movies, right? The
Yeah,
Netflix streaming vacation of
yes, yes.
content. The quality's kind of gone down. We've gone back to the studio era where there's these companies like Netflix and Amazon Prime that own and work directly with certain actors. So you see Selma Hayek in 4 different Netflix movies. You
Yeah,
see Adam
yeah.
Sandler, like you know what I'm saying, and
Yeah.
very very similar to the early studio era, the early Hollywood
Uh,
years. Uh,
uh,
not sure if that's good or bad. I'll let people decide that.
right,
We also see
right.
Atlanta producing a lot of content, a lot of urban and what I would call black cinemas coming out of Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
It
Uh,
seems that I saw the other day on TV, Fubu's got a network. There's a Fubu network. I'm like, everybody getting it.
Fubu
Yeah,
or Fubo?
Fubu. Fubu.
Fubu?
For us by us.
No,
LL Cool J for us by
no.
us on the low. Got
What?
a network with focused on urban entertainment,
I'm
and so this whole
definitely gonna be
streaming,
checking that out.
yeah, yeah, this whole streaming thing, it's wild. Um, what are your thoughts on this kind of more quickly produced YouTube content, and then cinema done more as art, kind of
Uh-huh.
like, and I know this from my research on you, people like Godard, and then obviously masters like Kubrick, and
Yes,
and
yes.
Tarantino, right? What are your thoughts on this era, that era? Where does
It's
Blue fall
merging,
on that?
man. It's merging. It's merging. We're getting there. We're getting there more independently. You know what I
Mm,
mean? The the not access, but like the tools we need to make film are becoming more accessible. You know what I mean? And you know, it's just like having how the home studios are blowing up now.
Yeah.
Like everybody can make music. You know what I mean? You can make music straight on your phone. You know what I mean? The beat, you can record the rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can mix on there yet, but you can do a whole lot on the phone. You know?
You
So
really
it's
can.
like, you know, you can shoot a freaking film on your
Yeah.
phone. You know?
Yeah.
So everything is becoming like, you know, DIY, you know what I mean? Do it yourself. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I think we just started in this era, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to peak at some point, and it's going to be very entertaining, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And something dope to be a part of.
Yeah. You have a lot of experience with music videos. You've been on the sets, you've done high budget, low budget, indie, record label, in different places with different artists, with a variety of directors. When you started
Right.
in music, same thing. You know, you were in studios, you did it indie. Eventually, you wound up producing yourself, recording yourself. You have all the options as an MC, as a musician available to you. You could work with producers, you could produce yourself, you could go to a high-end studio, you could, you know, mix it and do it yourself. Do
Mm-hmm.
you see yourself potentially doing an indie movie, doing an indie project where you just go ahead and do it because we have these tools accessible to us now? Or do you
Most
want to wait
definitely.
for the right thing to come together? You know what I'm saying? Because you got a
I have
fan
both.
base. You do have a fan base that you could
Oh
tap.
yeah,
You know, once you
yeah,
release the project, people are going to watch it.
definitely. I appreciate that, and I definitely want to get films out to my fan base. You know what I mean? I kind of want to transition from into film.
I'll connect with Blue for a part 2 to this. And thank you for everybody for tapping in. Peace.